Bonjour, Assata. I feel like I should say good morning.
Good morning, bonjour.
Wait,
You, yes.
did you find some neat kind of air conditioning last night to spend the
Absolutely. It's my nap. I take an outdoor nap on a regular basis.
That would be so great. Thank you for coming in bed with me
My pleasure.
today. It's such a pleasure to see you, even from this kind of distance here, so I can be able to see your beautiful eyes as much as we can. You are in downtown Toronto today.
That's right. That's right.
At home. So
Yeah.
I'm coming at you from Montreal, and I have been wearing the same shirt for a gazillion recordings now, and I was inspired by Lawrence Viscontini, who wore a really fancy pajama when he did this, and I feel like I have to step up my game a bit. So I took out a little bit of silk. And don't you look gorgeous? I feel like if we
Looks
would
good.
hug, we would never let go.
We would, yeah, exactly.
Welcome.
Yeah, you look great. Yeah, you look
bless
amazing.
your heart. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Assata is a long-term colleague of mine, and I hope I can say friend of mine from the fitness industry. And I actually find like we've got similar progress in the industry, in that in the beginning a lot of it was dance, and it's still deep in our heart. And then you and I progressed in our careers and both kind of became yogis, and nobody saw it coming for either of us, right?
Nope. Yeah.
And then we're able to reconnect on that path again. And so I'm so pleased that you would join us now from your home in Toronto in bed, so we could get kind of cozy and talk about some things that are of, different depths and different, different moments and different things that are happening in our lives right now. And so you look really comfortable.
I'm ready for you.
You are. Well, everybody's ready for you. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I noticed online that when the gyms closed and you were, so remind us how many classes a week you were teaching when the gyms closed in March?
25 and subbing included.
25 and subbing included. So, I mean, very much your full-time employment. Yes. A full-time, which is, there's not a ton of full-time instructors and trainers in the industry, but you were absolutely that. And then everything kind of changed. And what I love to see is that you took your time before you started to reappear and come online and come in a way that was authentically you, with some of it being, here's where my space is at, here's where my thinking is at. So take us a little bit through that process of how, with the space where you were and how you started to reignite what it is that you do so well.
Thank you. I started by being very depressed. I started by really missing my classes and missing that interaction with people. I'm one of the lucky ones that's able to do this fitness teaching classes aside full time, but I'm also lucky to be able to teach so many different types of classes. So I got to meet so many different types of people that like the high impact, people that like the high energy, people that like just strength, people that like gentle yoga, people that like power yoga, people that like heart yoga, people that like dance, people like Zumba, people like high choreography, low choreography. So I was very lucky to be able to teach so many different things. And so when quarantine happened, the lockdown happened, I took a moment. I honestly suffered from some depression with that quick change. And then I started to teach virtual classes to just a couple of people that I was close to. And I started to teach Zumba, and that really started to feel good. So all of my programs are great, but the dance programs are the feel-good programs, where you get people to move and exercise without them really feeling like they're exercising. That's what my soul needed at the time. And from teaching a little bit on Zoom and, using them, I didn't know that I was using them as a guinea pig. I was just solely doing this for myself, honestly. And I was so grateful and thanking them every time that they came to visit. And so after a while, I started to do that, and I started to feel like, I'm fairly confident now. I've got the music down. I've got the setting up the camera, and I'm here on the tech. I got the tech down, but the tech was a challenge. Even before I started, like I totally, I doubted myself and my own abilities to do tech, but I also doubted my ability to teach at all. I have lots of on-camera experience. I'm chatty. I have the gift of the gab, but to transition to teaching really was me saying to myself, do I really have that skill? Are people really going to listen to me? Am I going to keep people with me? Teaching face to face, you know, I'm giving back what they're giving to me. Sometimes a back and forth of energy and ideas. Now that it's one-sided, so to speak, how could I teach authentically? So that was a challenge. And of course, using this small space. But you know what? In the end, I worked it out and I started teaching for free. And again, I just told everyone, I'm so grateful that you're here. I don't know how you found me, but you found me. I just did some simple posts on Facebook and Instagram and went from there. Yeah.
And now we're starting to see the gyms reopening a little bit across Canada, not yet right in the city of Toronto. I think in the next couple of weeks is what is predicted. Predicted, because you never know. And you and I spoke, and you're still considering what you're going to do with all of that and waiting to know when the right time is for you, right?
That's right. Yeah. I'm not sure that I feel comfortable going back in. My sister lives in a long-term care facility, and my mom is in her 80s. So I want to do my best to stay as healthy as possible. And I don't personally feel comfortable with going back into the gym environment just yet.
And so tell me how that conversation has gone with your colleagues, your participants, your members, your leaders. How are you feeling that?
Yeah, good question. They've had support and understanding, and there are other instructors that can go in, but I'm still teaching. For my big box gym, I'm still teaching. I teach on Instagram Live. So that's really nice. I teach for my big box gym. I've got some corporate clients with them. And I've also got some private clients of my own. So I'm still connected. I'm just doing a lot more virtual and live virtual than ever before, than ever done in my life. So.
And isn't it interesting how, I mean, one thing that I hear really being common and everybody's like, oh my God, yes, is the energy that takes to teach a live class versus the energy that takes to teach a virtual class.
So different.
Share with us what you've noticed the difference to be.
So different. So first of all, I used to teach hour classes, like nonstop, like hour. Now I teach 45 minutes max. It's very tiring. Like at the end of it, drenched in sweat, happy, so happy, but the physical exhaustion, I can't describe it, but it's different. It makes you just want to sit. Whereas at the end of my regular classes, I'd be like, "Whoa, that was a good one. Pack it up. Let's go. Got to go off to the next one.
Yeah.
See you later. What do you think of class?" Blah, blah. Like there's this, and I'm still having conversation both at the beginning and the end of my classes that are virtual. But yeah, it's once I stop. And the other thing that's weird is I'm using my laptop, my notebook to talk to you right now. Once I close the window, I still have to close the actual lid. And then I have to sit back. And if I need to go back online, I find myself using my phone or another type of device.
So there's environmental, something physical, something ritualistic to close what just happened and move on to the next thing.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Yeah, that's my experience.
That is interesting. I think if you think about it, rituals are important. If there's anything we've lost is our routine.
That's right.
Rituals are important to create comfort, to create, all of those things, something that's natural. Yes, I do this and I do that versus every day's the unknown. I think we're quite resilient with the unknown, but having some things that's something that recreates a bit of a routine, even though every single week is different, I think does provide comfort. And we can see that. I mean, I remember when you first came online, like you said, with the Zumba classes, some of the stuff that you would do, and I have been able to watch some of the classes that you teach with your gym on Instagram, and I would love to hear if you can, in a couple of things, maybe your if that's your post, perhaps it's something in your pre-Assata that helps you bring Assata through the lens because it's there. And I don't know if everybody could capture that. For me, it's palpable. It's palpable that you are a giver kind of a person. You're not a hold back. You wear your heart on your muscles and in your voice, and that does come through. Is there something in your prep or something that you've done that you feel you can actually be authentic when you're teaching those classes on virtual?
That's a great question. Well, my prep is the same as it would be face to face. I'm always choosing music that resonates with me. And even though I really pride myself on being a bad wedding DJ that takes all the requests from everybody,
Right.
I still, from those requests, find the ones that resonate with me. So I'm never teaching what it doesn't feel good to me. I'm always authentically doing what I can, even if, the nay, I don't do it the best. I'm doing it my way and I'm living life and dealing with it. So I think that is a part of my prep. So my music, my practicing, sometimes my scripting to make sure that I know my choreography. I also think that, especially on Instagram Live, when I can actually see the people's names and the comments that they're making that scroll through, that reminds me that there's really other people there on the side, on
thinking
the other
about
side.
that. Yeah. Thinking about that person there.
Yes. And connecting with that person and staying with the fact that we learned a long time ago in fitness instructor training, that the class isn't for you. This is not your workout. It's somebody, you're doing this for someone else. It's someone else's workout. And so always keeping that in mind, especially on virtual. That's what I think is a part of my prep as well. So I'm actually looking into the camera. I'm actually saying, come on, we can do this. I'm actually stopping for a bit and saying, we're doing, or I do a hip shake, you do a hip shake, or something. And these are the things I would have done face to face anyway.
Yeah.
But on Zoom, it's different as well, because if they have their camera on, then I actually get to see. And when I mess up, sometimes, which I naturally do, I laugh it off, and I actually can check in and watch them laughing it off, or watching them go, there's two more. So
would you encompass that really into mindfulness to a certain extent?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being really
definitely.
present, focused, and when you're there, which if you would do it in bricks and mortar, you're like in the room, right?
Yes.
And now you're like, well, I'm in the same room that I did 6 other things today, or on the same patio that I've done 7 other things, but I still have to have a transition and prep. And even though we don't have that physical walk or drive or get on the subway from one thing to another, we have to mentally, emotionally, and then energetically do it. Well, you do it beautifully. And like I said, it's palpable there. Another thing that you've been really opening yourself up about in terms of, so one of them was going through the lockdown and then starting to come back and teach again. The other one had to do with the Black Lives Matter movement that came from the US and then in Canada and Toronto fairly strongly, that it's been there for a really long time. And I appreciate in advance, because you and I discussed this before talking today, that you would be okay talking a little bit about what the perspective that you have in relation to systemic racism, in particular in the Canadian fitness industry. And you agreed to talk about that. And I'd love to know what your perspective is on that.
Thanks for giving me this platform to say something about it. It's mainly about representation, and that for my over 20 years of being a Campit Pro member, or a person that attends lots of big conferences, that very rarely do I see people that look like me up there. That the people that are my fitness heroes don't look like me, and they don't have the same body that I have either. I'm still affected by our industry's ideals that are unfortunate. So slim, very toned white woman, nice long hair, even short hair, but light colored hair. I'm sure everybody's affected by that, but I'm affected a little differently because I can never be white. So I think racism in this fitness industry, in Canada specifically, for me, has mostly been around just representation. And sometimes in spaces when I'm the only Black woman there, I didn't always feel comfortable.
Mm.
I didn't let that stop me. But maybe in other ways I did let it stop me. No one said I couldn't, do all the things I need to do to become a presenter, and be one of those people on stage. But, and I have done some presenting, but did I always feel comfortable in those spaces? I don't know if I'm answering your question well.
You are, and it's interesting because the thoughts go through, having been in these events with you for
Yes,
for those 20
yes,
years.
yes,
There's something that, things that I've been writing in. I would have been one of those people that would have said, but I don't see color.
yeah,
And what I'm learning now is that's not kind. That's not compassionate. But I'm like, but I don't see that. And because
exactly.
I wouldn't have. Do you know what I mean?
I
Everybody's
totally get
there,
it.
and no matter, and just they're my fit. If I see any color, it's fitness is the color, if that makes any sense. That's what it
Right,
has been. I'm like, these are my people. These are my community.
right,
Fitness has always
right,
been my community.
right.
But it's actually discompassionate to say that, because I think now what I'm hearing, what I'm understanding is it actually needs to be seen in
Yes,
order to move towards the next step. Is that
yes.
so? Talk to us about that a little bit. How can we see color and start to make strides towards the next step that we all deserve?
Right. It's those that are in positions and that have the privilege and the opportunity to hire more people, that look like me, Black, Indigenous, people of color, to be a part of um, their organizations, and then a part of the pool of instructors that they choose from to represent their companies, their pool of presenters, their pool of whatever they're doing.
Mm.
Um, we're out there not asking for handouts. I'm skilled. Uh, I, I, I love this industry, and I've been doing it for a long time for a reason, because I love it, and I'm pretty good at it. It's just that it's mainly a feeling of doors not being necessarily open for me,
Mm.
and it's not. Yeah, some people say, "Well, just kick the door down." That's not me, and I appreciate when you say you don't see color, because I feel from my years of knowing you that you see me. That's what I feel.
Mm.
So I don't know if I'm answering the question right, but it just feels like
What
getting a
would
hot
be
flash just thinking about
That's
it.
okay. Well, let's not go into where our age and
I'm not,
hormones are now.
hey, girl.
That's a whole other thing. So let me ask you this: if I don't see color,
Yeah,
would have made me feel better
yeah,
in the past about hearing about racism,
mm,
and maybe feeling like, well, I can deflect it because I don't see color.
yes,
Now
that's
realizing
it.
that that's not there, what would be
Right,
something that you feel is actually sees you? What could I do if I talk about myself and my
right,
colleagues and everything else? So we talk
right,
about the people empowered and we can talk to them, but we've learned that sometimes the people aren't empowered also need to break down some stuff, and those
right,
barriers can be
right,
done slowly. It could be a
right.
slow push if you don't want to
Yes,
break it down.
yes, 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 yes.
So what would be some, if I would say it to you now and say, but I don't see color, Assata, what would be your in kind response to that?
It might be, and this is not an example of you, but an example of someone in our circles that has said to me, uh, it's being sensitive around language and
Mm.
around just the things that we say. So, for example, you know, Black girls always have the biggest booties. I'm working towards a Black girl booty. You want to? This is the booty workout. Now, just look at Assata over there and do what she's doing. Something insensitive like that, even though you don't see color, but
Mm.
it's sort of sexualizing me, and it's sort of
Stereotyping,
stereotyping me.
if nothing
Um,
else. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's those types of comments that could come when you don't see color.
Mm.
Does that example make sense?
It does make sense. And I
Yeah.
think You know, there was a part of me when the movement first started and it came into Canada, and I was like one of
Yeah.
those people that's like, I mean, I always felt like, you know, when I was at in an executive position at Cafe Pro, we would make jokes, which they might have, I'm sure they were insensitive, that it kind of felt like the United Colors of Benetton, because we really
Yeah.
had that office in particular. So not necessarily
Yeah.
on stage, not the icons, but that
Yeah.
office, you would take photos and it's like, seriously, it's like, it's the
Yeah.
UN.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was like,
Yeah.
check. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Right.
But now that all of this has come to light, I kind of pulled back from it a little bit,
Right.
because I'm one of those people that was like, I want to say something, but it started to feel like anything that was out there could be taken the wrong way, and it felt I wasn't comfortable with the risk. And then I got to the place where I'm like, yeah, so be uncomfortable, white girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to, you know, get uncomfortable. Just step out and try. And I trust that my friends and my colleagues will be direct and kind and help me move forward just like anybody else. But I think we kind of have to step out of our comfort zone a little bit. It was uncomfortable for me and I didn't do it for a couple of weeks. And then I'm like, then that's not helping anything. That's me kind of putting my head in the sand, you know? So what would you say to those people who are privileged and are worried about taking a step or a stand that they're going to say the wrong thing?
Right. Do what you did. Get uncomfortable. Say the wrong thing. Educate yourself. Read about it. And please don't. Please do your best not to call up your friends of color and ask them to do the work for you. Please don't. Yeah. Please do some work. Do some research. Yeah, there's lots of resources out there. And again, do what you did. Take a risk, take a chance, but do something. Don't do nothing. Because at this point, and I know I'm like you saying, you know what, Black Lives Matter, that's the States. That things like that don't happen here. But systemic racism and anti-Black racism is real right here in Toronto. And I've experienced it. So we have to do something. We have to say something. And what I say will be heard quite differently than what you say. So when you say something, Natalie, yeah, it has a different impact than when it comes from me. It might be the exact same message, but yeah, that's why you have to say something.
Is there, and I mean, you gave a couple of examples in some of the stuff that you put online, but to make it real, is there anything that has happened to you that you'd be comfortable or willing to share with the people who are listening today, that you're like, this is an example of what does happen today?
Yeah, just recently I was doing an Instagram live, and people have the ability to comment, and I thought that the comments were going to be moderated by my company, but they weren't moderated, and some really racist comments started to come through. And this is 2020, and they were saying I was a monkey, that I was that Bob Marley is bringing coronavirus, that I look like Little Wayne, just and other comments I didn't even see. I saw the Bob Marley and coronavirus comment. Other people told me about the other things. I actually took a screen cap. So 2020, and I'm just doing a class, like just did a dance class like anybody else would, online, but trolls exist, and I'm not a baby. I know that racism exists. I know that people make comments all the time, but I guess just a sad reminder that yes, we're in Canada, we're Canadians, we're better, we're one of the best people in the world, but racism and all the other isms exist, but especially anti-Black racism at this time is here, and it's pretty strong. And it was very uncomfortable for me, and I did my best to finish the class, but there are over 300 people watching, and some of them tried to comment, tried to report the people and did all the things, but in the end, the damage was done. My company apologized for not being able to, keep their promise of moderating.
I'm sorry that that happened. I'm really sorry that that happened. And I'm astonished at your professionalism to finish that one class and to come back and do it again. So you finishing that class and you doing it the week after is you kicking down the door, Assata. You're kicking it down through dance, and you're kicking it down by showing up. That's exactly you kicking down the door, because otherwise you would have just stopped, and I don't think anybody would have blamed you for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
thanks for saying that. My company stepped up afterwards. They apologized and they said, that it won't happen again. So all that good stuff did happen in the end. But I'm glad that you see it that way, because I know it intellectually. I know that representation matters. That me being there and not letting the trolls get me down is important. But it really hit hard, and it really feels pretty shitty. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
you can
But
listen.
it feels bad.
If you can't swear about that, I don't know what the heck you can swear about. It is shitty. It's worse than that. It's horrifying. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I do think that a lot of us sweet gosh darn sorry Canadians would have been like, oh, but that's somewhere else.
That's those people. That's them, not us.
That's them, not us. But for it to be that prominent on a site like that is very disappointing. And I'm happy to hear that the company stepped up and have stepped up to take care of you moving forward. And I'm not surprised about that whatsoever. And props to them, and props to the people who I'm sure took on the weight of that, and now we're making that much more of an effort to move forward. And so good on everybody. And like I said, your professionalism that just shows up, because this isn't just, it's not just anything. It's not just showing up. It's literally putting your body, mind, spirit on the internet in order for people to, in a place that's just pure giving and caring, to help people move, because movement is medicine and we need it now more than ever. And for that to go so high and so beautiful, and then to get flipped around like that, and then for you to be like, I'm finished. I'm still gonna finish.
I'm still gonna finish this class.
And then, if it's the last thing I do, I will mambo my whole and then to show up the week after and be like, I'm putting on a sports bra again, guys, because guess what? You don't win. And exactly. I'm astonished that you would have the bravery, the courage, and the professionalism to do that. So I'm always admire you. I always have the I revel in your beauty, that you're constantly, and when I say beauty, I mean, I hope everybody understands what I mean by that. It's just the beauty of what you give, your generosity of spirit. And that's always been the case with you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. And I think that's why it's also exhausting. It's a physical space thing. Like, you're on I don't know what the surface is on that balcony, but it's not perfect heavy 7-layer flooring. So you're doing it that way. But I also think the reality is if we are authentic and mindful and in the moment, and not getting the feedback and doing it one way as if we were doing it two-way, it is exhausting. And so for sure with that, tell us a little bit about, every week is different, every day is different, and we are resilient and we are pivoting and we're doing all of that. But tell us about what you're looking forward to in 2020. What keeps you grateful? What keeps you grounded?
I'm looking forward to more conversations about wellness and more conversations about mindfulness. And remember how back in the day, instructors would say things like, come on, everybody, let's work for our summer body. But now I think we're changing that, and we're saying, come on, everybody, let's work to feel good. Let's actually feel good. Let's leave here. Let's do this workout so that we're energized at the end, not completely depleted or exhausted at the end. I look forward to more of that. I look forward to so much creativity. trolls aside, I think virtual fitness has so much potential for so many different voices. We're not locked in by brick and mortar, so we can really use the internet to get creative. I think we can take this to our own communities. I think I had someone say to me online, I always wanted to do your class, but it was too packed. Now I can do your class. Yeah. I was like, great, this is great. Someone said, oh, I'm doing your class from Japan. I'm like, excuse me, what? So I always wanted to go to Japan. This is amazing. I didn't get to go to Japan. Japan came to me. Amazing. So there's just hope, and there's room, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the younger generation and what they'll do, future fitness professionals, what they'll come up with. I'm personally, I don't just teach fitness classes. I do a whole bunch of other things, and I'm a wellness practitioner as well, and I'm trained in health promotion and workplace wellness. So I look forward to taking that message across the board to people that don't want to come to the gym. You say gym, and they're moving the other direction. I look forward to getting in touch with those people as well a little more, for me personally, in 2020. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what you're gonna do in 2020. I know you got things up your sleeve.
It's sweat. It's premenopausal sweat. All right.
Don't start. Do not start.
Thank you for being the wonderful you. Thank you for taking time to chat with me today, to share all of this with of us today, and for reminding us that there is absolutely hope, and that the industry that people have always relied on for energy and enthusiasm and everything else is still there. We're just figuring things out and figuring new ways to come to them. And the world is absolutely your oyster. And I'm so, so proud to be amongst the people that you count as friends and colleagues, Assata. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a lovely day. And thanks for the jammies. They're very cute.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with you.
Thanks, girl.